I don't have the legs for it.
Wow. That is impressive. One that you could get your leg up that high. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NYC Godcast. Today, we're going to continue on with our series, Follow the Facts. So, I know last week we kind of talked about, haunted houses and things that the enemy puts in our path to take our eyes off of the facts. We can allow Satan to trick our minds to forget what is true. Today, I kind of want to talk about something similar, but it could fall into the same category. However, I believe that we need to take a closer look at it. Because it's specific. It's a specific type of trickery. Easy for you to say.
I'm really having a good time right now. So I tried to look this up, and I got some answers that were pretty close, but they weren't quite exactly what I deal with. But I have like a spatial awareness fear. And I don't, not like that. Not like that.
Okay. That's like trying to get Rachel's attention.
That's not what it means.
Well, that's exactly what, it kept on pulling up claustrophobia. It kept on pulling up that's not the fear that I have.
Oh. I'm intrigued.
But I couldn't find the exact word, what it was. But I don't like when I can't understand the area around me.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So, for example, Jacob and I went to the Kennedy Space Center like a year or two back, and we were looking at the exhibit for the Challenger in Columbia. Which, if you don't know, were failed space missions where people died in explosions. So we're walking around looking at everything, and there was a room kind of like off to the side, and it had actual pieces from the spaceships. Like it had like the actual like the front window piece, from the shuttles. Okay. And they were obviously in a dimmed room because one, they didn't want like things to deteriorate the pieces, and then also to pay respects to
factor,
like to pay respects to people. Well, I walked in there, and it was dimly lit, and the background was dark. And as soon as I walked in there, I was uneasy. I didn't like it. Like there was like I was like I can't tell if there's things behind it. I can't tell what's around me. Like I didn't like it. So as soon as I walked in, I wanted to walk back out. And it's only because I was unable to understand my surroundings. Now, the same thing has happened in my life multiple times. Like when we went to the Titanic Museum and we went into the it was like the iceberg part. It had like
it looked like you got to go to the edge of the boat and you got to touch
and like it was dark and you couldn't see what was like beyond.
So it's not a fear of darkness. It's a fear of like inability.
What you can't perceive.
Yeah. Like I have a hard time where if I can't see what's in front of me or beside me. And so I know what you're thinking. Jamie, we already talked about the things that scare us, that Satan puts in front of us to scare us in our lives. But how is this any different? Well, the main difference is that these situations are not meant to provoke fear. NASA's not putting scary creatures in the corner, trying to scare men.
Before I wrote them this letter.
It was like a werewolf, in the side thing. Truly and honestly, the exhibit is for you to feel sadness, to feel empathy, to feel for the ones that died on those horrific days. But I was standing there scared.
Thinking about yourself?
Yeah, I was scared. And the only reason I had fear in this particular room is because of how I was perceiving it.
Right.
Not because the intent was scary. The fear was created in my own mind without the need for trickery. Did you have something you were like... No. You were just breathing? Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this doesn't come from the enemy, because it does. Our flesh is what makes things in our mind way bigger than what is actually in front of us.
Right.
You keep on doing
that thing.
I
suppose since you're begging
you keep on doing the...
So we talked in Sunday school this morning about what the Bible calls a while. Do you know what a while is? It's not like we stay for a bit. No. Skinny one?
For a while.
Whale. While. No, that's not what that is. It's not like grandma says, I'm going to come over for a... No, it's not that either. So the coyote that chased the roadrunner, his name was Wiley. And literally that's what that word means. It's like this like manipulation, this planning, this plotting.
CJ looked over his shoulder like,
I know.
Yeah.
You said road dumber.
Listen, it's Aldi's version. We're not allowed to... There's copyrights. You can't say roadrunner. Road dumber. I don't know. The point is the coyote, Wiley, So that's what the Bible says. We are not ignorant of Satan's devices, and that we can stand against the wiles of the enemy. And that word wiles literally is trickery.
Yep.
Like it's this like manipulation. And so what you're saying is our minds are doing that.
Yeah.
So like it's not even like we're letting the enemy do that. It's that our minds are are being, I guess if you'd allow it, being possessed.
Yeah.
Into thinking
Yep.
you know what I mean? We're falling for these wiles.
Said that you're possessed.
And she said, yeah.
At least I didn't accidentally do it. But like that's the thing is like, I guess that's where we kind of like we see things in front of us, and I think it's easy for us to say, "Oh yeah, Satan's definitely doing this."
Right.
Like it's something that he's throwing in my path. But when it comes from our own mind, it's harder to see that it's still the same situation.
Right.
It's just in our brain.
Well, and so we were also talking. So Satan is called. We unfortunately cartoons have made Satan into something he's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't have red horns and a pitchfork and a
No.
tail
Hooves.
and hooves.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he doesn't have that stuff. The Bible calls
He's the dark
him.
background you can't understand.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bible, ironically, the Bible calls him an angel of light.
Yeah.
And the Bible also calls him the bright and morning star. And so what I get by that is that he's going to like appear in a way you're not going to expect.
Yes.
Like in fact, almost the opposite.
Yep.
And so just like that, like when you start having those thoughts, like we would never associate because it's coming in our mind.
Yeah.
We would think, oh, that's just me thinking. No, that could actually be the enemy
Yes.
putting thoughts there.
Well,
And
just to back up a couple of steps here, is that you were talking about the Wile E. Coyote situation, and like what came to my mind is the particular episode where like there's like a rock, and then he paints it like it's like a road,
Right.
Okay, and then the road runner comes through and he like runs into the rock like it's an actual
Right.
tunnel. And the coyote tries it and he of
Right,
course
hits
runs into
it.
the rock.
Beep, beep.
Okay, so then I was thinking
Oh,
like,
come on. Did no one get that quote? That was
Is
wonderful.
that a quote?
It sure
It
is.
sounds like an onomatopoeia to me.
but
Well, if that's the only vocabulary he has.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But so the Roadrunner had faith. Okay, like F the coyote is
It was misplaced, but it was there.
F the coyote represents the enemy in this case. Okay, he's painting this trap
Right.
for us to hurt ourselves. Okay, and the Roadrunner who runs through like it's a tunnel would be like, I see your trap. Okay, but my faith is stronger than your trap. So to me,
Yep.
it's a tunnel, and I'm gonna run through it. And you don't even have enough faith to be able to run
Right.
through it like
Yep.
I can.
I think that the key to this month is faith doesn't always allow us to avoid
Yes.
what we're afraid of.
Right.
Faith says, Kennedy Space Center, here I come. Like I'm going into
I'm
the
gonna
dark
stand in the room
corners.
for 15
Yeah,
minutes.
like you want just 16 this time. Like that's what faith says is overcoming that fear and knowing the facts.
Yep.
Regardless of what you can't perceive or what what you're thinking or what you can't feel, you know the facts. You know for sure that nothing's in here. You know for sure that NASA's not trying to prank you. You know for sure
They're not gonna steal
that
you.
You're not gonna, so I think that's the key this month is faith conquers. Like faith is enough. The facts are enough to press through what
Yes.
we're thinking, even if it's misconstrued in our minds.
And I think that what I'm going to bring up here is examples of not everybody has the same fear as I do. Not everyone's afraid of weird rooms.
Spiders. I mean, yes.
Yes, we're talking about the spatial awareness
What's
today.
the next fear on your list? I don't know.
No, but I think that people.
This is like Jamie's therapy sessions. This is much cheaper than therapy.
This is free.
Like 3 people.
You're dying.
I
today.
know. It's just.
But I think that in life applications, there's a couple of things that people don't realize are that same, or I don't like the perceiving that I can't perceive what's going on. It happens in their lives, like thinking that someone is mad at you
Right.
without talking to them.
Yeah.
That's such a.
I've had very many times that I thought someone was really upset with me, and then I was avoiding them and
Right.
all this stuff because in my head I was like, oh, they're mad, they have to be mad.
Yeah.
And then literally weeks later I come to find out they didn't even.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, I didn't even know that I was supposed to be mad at you. You know what I mean?
think I brought up like a couple of weeks ago, or months or years. Anyway, but whereas in you could for example be running late for work or something, spill some coffee, and you go to brush your teeth, you come back, and your spouse has already cleaned up the coffee, and you're like, I was gonna get there, and they're like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
But the whole time you're like, no, they just said that. They're really mad at me. And we let that spiral so out of control in our mind to the point of, like you said, like we end up avoiding them. You know, like they're not mad at us anymore. But we're just like walking on eggshells around them.
I could be wrong. Is there an in-between? So just like someone's mad at you. Like, technically, there's no real way of knowing without asking them.
Yeah.
There's always that possibility. But would you say, like, so you can't necessarily follow the fact in that instance. You can't know for certain they're not mad at you. But what you can do is not follow the falsities.
Yes.
So there's almost three categories. You know what I mean? Like, there's following the facts, which I know they're not mad at me. But then sometimes you don't always have that fact to follow, and like when we're talking biblically, like that's not what I'm talking about here.
And I think
there's like following a falsity is almost separate from not following a fact.
And I think that the following the facts.
Really quick.
I think that like when you're following the facts, you're going to be able to have the wisdom. God's going to give you the wisdom to be able to handle that situation. Yeah. So if you think someone's mad at you, you're going to go to them and be like, "Hey, is there anything? Is there an ought between us?" Instead of being like, "Well, I don't want to talk to them. What if they yell at me?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think
that's breakdancing right there. And she's nervous.
This is what
like the greatest. That is the greatest tick ever.
I actually dance a lot when I'm nervous. So
make her nervous.
Yes. Mental note of that.
I know that's not true.
I would not still be sitting here.
I followed the facts.
That's right. Good job. That was a test.
But also, there's another thing that I do a lot is worrying about a situation when you're not even sure if that situation's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, we all do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing is you don't know exactly, like there's not a fact as in this could happen or could not happen. But it's a fact of God has it regardless.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not so much like, oh, I know that I'm going to be healed from this. Oh, I know that this situation won't arise. I just know that if he doesn't heal me, it's going to be okay. Yep. If this situation does arise, it's not going to be able to affect me because God is going before me.
I think that is one of the greatest things that are missing in our modern Christianity. Like, I feel like that's something the church of the ancient church, the apostles, the disciples, the Saint, Corrie ten Boom and Brother Andrew, just these different people that we read about today. The one thing their life had was this: even if, either way, God's got it.
It's gonna be okay.
It's in God's hand. Yeah, like I know He's sovereign, and if this happens, it's all good. If it doesn't happen, it's all good. Where is that gone? Like even in my life, like I am challenged by that because we live on lists of hypotheticals and if could be's and then when's and things that it's like God, this is what Warren Wiersbe says. I'm gonna get this all wrong. I should have wrote it down. He says faith is living without is it not manipulation? Basically without plotting. Faith is living without plotting. And so like what I get from that is like you don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
You don't have a plan C or D or E. You're not worrying about what plan R through Q is.
Yep.
You're worrying about Q through R. What you're worrying about is I got lost you all there.
I'm like, that's not very
you don't
many
have
plans.
You don't have to make plans or contingencies because faith. You're following faith. You're following the God who has, like, I remember the MacGyver illustration. Like, God is the ultimate MacGyver, right?
Yeah,
and so you're following the God who has all resources. What do I need to plan for? My plans are puny and ridiculous and laughable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing is we allow our perception of the situation to dictate how we react instead of allowing God to show us how we need to feel about the situation. Was there anything in that exhibit that was going to hurt me?
I mean, maybe.
Nothing plain.
I might
nothing
wild.
I might trip and smack my face on the thing, but it's fine. But was there any chance that suddenly behind the pieces, what I couldn't see, was there going to be something for me to fear? No.
So none of us are really good at answering that for you.
Not even from us.
I don't know what Jacob did before you got there.
Like, I was afraid of it because I was allowing my flesh to determine what could happen to me.
Yeah.
Not listening to the truth that the room was safe. We do the same thing with God. Instead of believing his promises, we would rather take what we know and worry ourselves to death.
Yeah. So last episode we were talking about werewolves. Not to bring that up again, but werewolves. So that was fearing what is there.
Yes.
What you're talking about today is fearing what's not there.
Yeah. Have you ever? So, I actually, I think you and I have talked about this. Have you ever sat somewhere
in like your house or whatever, the lights are off, whatever, and you know for a fact there's not something standing there, but it looks like something standing there.
But there is.
If you stare long enough, you're going to see something standing there.
Juliet put some stickers on our dining room door this week.
Oh, no.
And I don't know how many times I've introduced myself to it. Every time I walk in the kitchen, I'm like, hi there.
Also, why are you introducing random strangers to your house?
If they're in my house, I don't want to be rude. I don't know why they come or what they're doing there.
I would be more like, maybe I should get a shotgun. Maybe I should call the police.
You do you.
You are like, hello, welcome, steal everything
Let
I
me
have.
introduce you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
We don't have a kitchen table. like, it's just the whole thing.
But I think there is something to be said. Like, I think a lot of times we do. We fear cancer.
Yep.
We fear, losing a loved one.
Yes.
We fear losing our job. But there is something to be said for fearing what's not there.
Yeah.
Fearing not, fearing the void, fearing the emptiness, or the, fearing that you'll be in a situation you just aren't going to have what you need.
Yep.
So where does that fear come from? I mean, because obviously, like I said, the werewolf, losing your job, cancer, those are very tangible
Yes.
fears. Okay, and even to Jamie's extent, like her fear is a tangible fear because she recognizes it.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, where does the fear come from? Like, of just, I've heard of people who are just like terrified of certain situations. You were able to, but they just will not enter a certain situation. And like a lot of times with me, like people who fear roller coasters, okay, I'm like, it's designed to do that.
Yeah.
Like every inch of that roller coaster is meant to do exactly
I always
what
think this
it's
is so
doing,
unspiritual,
what
but I always
afraid
think,
of.
like, dude, if I lose an arm, look how much money I'll have. I have no fear of this
Unless
ride.
the Final Destination's you, and then that's not good.
Then my family will be
no,
rich.
No arms, no legs. I love roller coasters.
We're horrible people. But yeah,
But you know what I mean? Like sometimes I think,
no, go ahead. I'm
like,
too excited.
I think that like Satan just like puts fears in us, but not like he's like saying, okay, like Josh needs a fear of cats, and he gives you a fear of cats. But I don't know if you have, I don't know.
I mean,
but
close enough.
Some of them, yeah.
But I think that like Satan just uses the world to put these fears in us of like if you I haven't actually sat down and watched like the real news in like years, okay, but because I found that if you do, you know what I mean, like you are worried about
well you're allowing someone else,
life.
you're intentionally sitting down, turning it on, and asking them to paint your reality.
Exactly.
Like that should alarm all of us. Like burn the TVs. Like that's.
But
I'm very violent today. I don't know why.
Today.
Like some people refuse to watch the news because like it's such horrible little but then they'll watch like a horror movie and I'm like,
still painting
a negative.
So what I was going to say, I actually was studying this week, ironically, but so in the Jewish culture, there was this concept of, so you know how in the Bible you read like the father. That's a bad example. So what I'm getting at, the Bible calls Satan the father of lies.
Okay.
We know that God is the father of. Like Adam was the father of all living things. Eve was the mother of all living things. I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who created the flute, it's in, I think it's in Genesis. He's the father of music in the Bible. So this concept in the Jewish culture is whenever the Bible says the father of, it means it's the firster, right? It's the starter. It's the firster. And so it's saying that, so again, what I'm getting at is that Satan, the Bible calls Satan the father of lies. What does that mean? It means all lies originate with him. And so exactly what Kevin said is, where do these fears come from? What is a fear? It is the opponent of truth. It is a thought that goes against reality. And so it's a fear that is sown from a lie. And who's the father of that? Well, Satan. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, the werewolf thing or the void at the Kennedy Space Center.
Lost at the void, I don't know.
But that fear is, but just like James is saying that, we're thinking, well, that's just my thoughts. That's not Satan. No, if that's not based in fact, then it's a lie, and it's coming from the originator of lies, Satan himself.
And that's the thing is, not only is that unbiblical, like to have that, to have this like impending doom on you at all times. Like it's not only that, it's exhausting.
Oh yeah.
Like you're constantly in a worry. You're constantly trying to think of even like for me, I'm a planner person. Like I don't.
So you're full of wows.
Yeah, I don't like
wows. I thought he said wows.
Wow.
He's impressed by you.
Yeah, thank you. That's so nice of you. No, like I'm the type of person that's like, Jacob makes fun of me because I am that person that's like, okay, well, we're going to go to this place. Well, if there's bad traffic, we need to leave 30 minutes early. We need to do this.
That touches me. My heart is warmed right now.
And then I'm like, okay, but if we're late, then we can cut this thing out. Yeah. But if we're not late, then we have
exhausting.
this. Do you know, it's very
But
exhausting.
I don't know any other way to live. Teach me.
I was hoping someone else could tell me.
I need to join this therapy session.
Oh, no.
She's that way too. Kevin.
Are you like that?
No.
Oh, teach us.
Okay. Like,
He's like, just don't care.
Almost. You are so close to the target. Okay, so like things that just like come into my mind. I'm sure all of you. Okay, so I was thinking like, so what does it mean to truly be like blessed by God? You know, some people say like, I got blessed to have a big house, a car, yada yada yada. Okay, to me, the blessing is just being satisfied where you are.
Yeah.
Okay, like being content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter what. Okay. So I would say to someone who's overwhelmingly planning, okay, you're trying to dictate your future.
Yep.
Okay. Instead of just saying, I'm going to be content.
Yes.
Okay. Whether I get stuck in traffic or not,
Yep.
I'm content with this. And in the end, which going through the process of it, I'm sure is nerve wracking. You're going to, but the end result is that you got what you needed done and you never worried because you totally trusted Jesus was going to get you through it. So
I think we're going to have an altar call at the end of this episode. I feel like convicted.
I surrender all.
like,
just as I am.
One of my things is like I try to convince myself that yes, I'm content right now. Yes, I am perfectly content that I overslept for 20 minutes forward, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speed to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I get there, I'm going to say, sorry, I overslept.
Yeah.
And my day will go on.
That seems like a really nice way to live.
Versus someone who's like going to get up and like try to take as many shortcuts and speed and, you know, what am I going to tell my boss when I get there? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So
to rabbit trail from the rabbit trail.
Yes.
Rabbit trail. So we're talking about fears.
We're in an ant thing now, aren't we?
Like with all the little.
Like the little.
Can rabbit trails turn into anthills? I'm confused.
You know what I'm talking about? The ant.
I know what you're talking about.
Displays.
Like the
and they
ant
have like
farm
the
thing?
Ant farm.
The ant
Just
farm.
that makes more sense. Okay. So we're talking about fears, right? And like so like back to the werewolf.
Yep.
Oh, we may have already talked about this. I may have to retract this. But just like the fear, like
redacted.
Jacob could have easily followed you in there and been like, psh.
Yeah.
That was kind of hard. James, there's nothing to fear.
Yeah.
But what I was actually again working on this week. Christians don't do that. Christians lower themselves to this perspective of the lower brother.
Yeah.
And they don't approve of it. They don't say, Jamie, this fear is totally rational and fine. Boom.
Yes.
They don't do that.
Look at all the blackness behind that.
Don't fear
There's
it.
so dark
That's
you
not
can't
what
see
you
it.
do. A Christian will come alongside you and say, I understand.
Yeah.
I was there. I can understand. I can appreciate your perspective. Let me join you down here and let me help you rise
Bring you
above
up.
this. That's what Christians are meant to do.
Yes.
Now, I don't know that I've seen that very often in church, but that's what Christians are meant to do. So getting back to the fact and the fear, whenever, like, I don't know if a lot of times in church, you can see someone who's not following the facts a mile away.
Yes.
Like, it's like written, they might as well wear a billboard that says, I trust lies. Like,
lie to me.
But the answer is not to go spray paint their billboard. Like, that's not the answer. The answer is to join alongside them and lower yourselves into that perspective. And that's what Philippians 2 says.
Yes.
Jesus lowered himself. He thought it not robbery to be equal with God, and he put on flesh and lowered himself to our perspective. And then
CJ killed him.
blasphemy. So that's what Jesus, he gave us the example. Lower yourself to serve others, to bring them up.
Yes.
And that's something that we all can be challenged and do better in.
Yeah.
I think that part of that is I apply it to work is that like, and I try to explain to other people, is like when a kid is having like a meltdown, okay, standing as the adult, looking down at them, saying, this is not how a 5-year-old acts.
Right.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's not helping them
No.
at all. You know what I mean? So you kind of like have to lower yourself into like, wait, they're not really, I mean, you could have a kid who's just, but most of the time, there's like a reasoning in their mind, okay, a fear, if we would, as to why they're reacting that way. And what Josh is saying is, instead of saying, stand up. Come on. We got things to do.
Yeah.
We don't have time for this. Okay. It's better to like Josh said, is to go into their perspective
Right.
of what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And talk them out of
Right.
their lie into the actual fact of the truth.
Which is what Jesus did. Again, we're just repeating last week's episode. Apparently. That's what Jesus did with Peter, right? Peter's sinking. Jesus didn't say, "Now, Peter, stand it together, boys."
What that mean?
Yeah,
Focus,
come up here.
focus.
That's not what Jesus does. He
can do it.
Jesus grabs him when he's sinking. He pulls him up. Now later, Jesus rebukes him. "Oh, ye have little faith.
Yes.
Why is your faith so puny, baby?" Why is that's what Jesus does later? But
I don't
not
know what translation that's in.
JV.
Josh James version.
That doesn't make sense.
Your middle name's Aaron.
KJV, but
Yeah.
that's not a
That
king
sounds
either.
funny, though.
And I don't have a
KJV.
version. But that's what Jesus like. So the point is not there is a biblical precedence for building one another up in truth. I think the problem we have is knowing when and where to do that, and not having the perspective of love to do it in.
Yes. Yep. For sure.
I think that sometimes because we want to, as flesh, okay, like we always have this thing of like, oh, you're struggling. I have to, as I help you from a struggling point of view, I have to let you know that I'm not struggling with the same thing that you're struggling with. So I'm gonna help you, but that's not really a loving way. It's like
I'm better than you.
Exactly, and like one of my guilty pleasures used to be watching things like Murray Povich or something, and then I realized like I'm only watching this because their life is worse than mine, and it makes
You
me
feel
feel better about
like
my life.
when you watch Hoarders and their house looks a lot worse than yours.
Exactly. So in this situation, like we as flesh, we tend to look at people from like a pity point of view.
Yes.
As we're helping them, it's like, oh man, your life is terrible. Mine isn't. So
Yeah.
come on, but my life is better than like we never ever become humble towards them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
To actually help them, because in doing it the way we fleshly do it, it's not really helping them. Like, because they become resentful towards it, and it just becomes all messy and everything.
But I think that's the thing is like, no matter how you're getting the fear to you, whether it be in your mind or it be whatever's happening in front of you, if you're constantly just allowing it to be in your life, you're going to have discontentment.
Oh, yeah.
And so 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind." I was doing some research on this verse, and I always thought that like sound mind was like you're like peaceful, or you're like in this like good state of, because like sound mind is always like, oh, you're allowed to sign a contract because you're of sound mind. You know what I mean? Like you're
mentally stable.
Yeah, you're mentally stable.
Yeah, you're mentally stable. But that's not actually what it means. It actually means that it's something that is delivered, rescued, revived, salvaged, or that something is now safe and secure.
That's really good.
And like I never thought about it like that. Like I always thought, oh, he gave us and now we're all mentally stable, which is not true. I'm like, lies. Have you met any of us?
Oh, that's great.
But it just means that we are safe and secure in him. It doesn't mean that the situations around us aren't happening. Right. It just means that we're safe in those situations.
That's good.
Paul's literally saying that not only do we have the spirit of love and of power, but we're safe and secure with him.
So would you say, so fear is thinking our thoughts, but having a sound mind is allowing the mind of Christ to be delivered to you and to redeem your mind to think as he would think.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Jesus wouldn't walk into that room and be afraid of it because he'd be like, there's nothing to
And so if we realize we have the mind of Christ, why would I fear?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing is if you're able to let go of the things that you think that you know, and the things that you see or the things that you can fear, and you allow his perfect will to come into you, there's no way for you to fear things. Because it doesn't matter if, you may get in a car wreck today. You don't have to fear that though, because if you do, one, you're going to go to heaven, or even if you're maimed, you know that he's going to be there every step of the way. Maimed.
Roller coaster.
Roller coaster. If you lose your arm on the roller coaster, you'll get lots of money.
But how difficult is it? Because like you three are the planners, okay?
Yes.
And I'm just the whatever.
You're like, what are we doing today?
I wake up like, wait, what's today? Okay. But that is so difficult what Jamie just now said is because our flesh is so doesn't like pain. It doesn't like all these things, and not just physical pain, but we will go through all costs to avoid those things versus going through those things with Christ. You know what I mean? Because as much as we like to say, what you said was beautiful and perfect in every single way.
Thank you.
Wow him.
Yeah, you wow him.
Thank you.
The wows
of Jamie.
But how do we in the flesh come to that? I mean, if someone said, when you drive home tonight, you're going to get in a wreck and lose a leg. Okay? We're probably not leaving this church. Okay?
I don't know. I think I might leave because I'd be like, okay, at least I know.
I mean, but
I can make a plan for this.
So the first stoplight or the second, I'll make a plan.
See, you two would be calling the hospital and Dan saying, I'm on my way.
I'm coming. Did you actually get hurt? Not yet, but I'm about to.
It's disturbing at so many levels. So this is what I was thinking, and maybe my mind just, it's a strange place. But so there's three instances in the Bible, and they're very not related at all. So we're talking about facing something, not really knowing the outcome, but facing it anyway. So you have the three Hebrew children. They're tossed willingly into the fire, and they tell King Darius, whether we perish or whether we don't perish, either way, God's going to prevail. And they go into the fire, knowing good and well, fire hot, fire hurt, ow.
Right.
And what happens? They're delivered. Don't even smell like smoke.
The funny thing is there's no, there's no way humanly possible you can make it through that.
Which is why we need faith. But so another example, which is the same exact thing, John, the Apostle John. Do you know how he was, his first attempted murder? He didn't try to. Someone tried to kill him. Should clarify. Do you know how they tried to kill him the first time?
No.
They put him in a vat of boiling oil.
I didn't know
that should hurt.
Yeah.
That should be an owie. That should kill you.
Uncomfortable,
yeah. But so he goes
Have you ever
in
lifted
and
the pot lid and got bit a little?
I just envisioned that story. Yeah, they lift the lid. He's like, "Hi, still here, doing good." Or he's swirling, right? He's next to a potato, a carrot, he's just
eating or something.
Yeah,
this is really good, actually.
Thank you. My skin is amazing. But he's unscathed. So again, he goes into what should be an atrocious situation, and he's unscathed. But he never would have known that had he not gone into the oil.
Yeah.
But then there are other instances, such as John the Baptist and Paul, who literally have their heads cut off. And they don't survive. So what are we saying again?
Spoiler alert.
What we're saying is faith says it doesn't matter the outcome.
Yes.
Faith says God can make this painless.
Yep.
God can make me endure a maiming car accident and I not feel a thing.
Yep.
He can make me grow a fourth arm. He can. That's really right. He can make me regrow an arm. God can do what he wants to. That's where you're hung up. I'm talking about God's able to do
The third arm for me.
But what I'm saying is, very poorly. But what I'm saying is that regardless of the outcome, faith says, I trust God.
Yep.
I follow the facts, and that's that God can do what he wants to. He can make this painless, or he can make this painful, but either way, he's got me.
Yes, exactly.
I took the long way of saying that, but I'm done.
With your third and fourth arms.
I'm going to come next week with an octopus costume category. Because we have to plan. We got to categorize. Okay, this is...
What kind of cactus are you?
Cactus. I said octopus.
Oh,
But they have 8. That's another list.
I really thought you said cactus.
That probably makes more sense because octopus would have 8 arms.
This.
That's an Egyptian.
No, that's what they do.
Who?
I can see
Cactus.
your arm.
Cactus.
Oh, I see.
Cactus.
Yeah, that's
I don't
right.
think cactus.
They do this.
Whatever, more than one. I don't think they have a set way to grow, do they?
I think they just grow.
I think they just
I've seen
grow.
some
Because I've
like
seen
this.
cactus with no arms.
When I think cactus, I think that. That's what
think
I'm under arrest or something. I don't
I think of this in like a pink
like.
flower
That's
on top.
Egypt. I don't know what kind of
Yeah, she's trying to
desert
walk
you've
like
been
an Egyptian
to.
or something.
Yeah,
I've never been to the desert. Can you tell?
that shows.
You look ridiculous.
We need a sound mind, Jamie. Deliver us.
This is definitely not what sound mind meant. All right. Is everybody good? Okay.
Yeah.
Don't look at me.
So today's considerable quote. It's by nobody.
Nobody
God-
said this.
Him again.
Nobody
You're about
said
to
this.
say it for the first time.
Say about it for the first time. God's truth is not subject to man's opinion.
Facts.
Doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter what you think.
That's not very nice to say.
Doesn't matter what you think. I was looking right at you. That's not very nice to say, Kevin.
Well, so how do we do that? I mean, we live in such a, me world. Like, how do you
like Rachel thinking that wasn't about her? It was about you.
like?
She would never say that to me.
Even people who aren't they know hey, the world doesn't evolve around me. Okay, to tell them that really what you think is kind of inconsequential about everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of us are okay, I defer to you for this.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But to say I'm going to defer to someone for everything.
Yeah.
Which means I know nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
that's why Saints Gone By, I don't remember who it is that even calls this. I think it was C.T. Studd. This is one of the old dead saints that have gone by. But they called the Christian life the exchanged life. I lay down my thoughts. I lay down my beliefs. I lay down my right to have an opinion. I lay down my perception. Even if that train is barreling towards me, I lay down my perception. I don't see the train. I see only what the exchange life sees. I only see what God sees. And he sees that there's a
Until
angel.
God tells me there's a train in front of me,
I mean,
I'm
you know
going
how
to
many
wait.
instances, I don't know what we're going to talk about the rest of the month. I feel like we've done swell in 2 episodes. But think of the episode, the story. I don't watch the Bible on TV. Think of the story.
It's VeggieTales.
Oh, goodness. I want a cheeseburger. I was like, no, oh, come on. That was wonderful. Nothing?
I was going to sing it, but I wasn't going to. No.
Juliet will watch if you do it. She sings that all the time. No.
This has nothing to do with cheeseburgers. This is still not a cactus.
The story where, was it Elijah or Elisha? I can't remember which one now. But where they're surrounded by the angel army.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, let my servant see it.
Yeah.
From that servant's perception, we in trouble.
Yeah.
The world's biggest army is coming against us. We're going to die. We're going to die. We're going to die.
Yep.
And then what did he have to do? He had to take on God's perception. God could see all the angels around.
Yep.
That's the Christian life. We live an exchange life. And that's what that quote says, is we live a life that doesn't follow what we see.
Yeah.
I don't see the enemy. I don't see the armies all around me. I don't see the arrows whizzing past my head. What do I see? I see God's thoughts, and I see what God sees. I see the facts, which is God's got me. God's got this.
That would be amazing if we could just constantly see that.
That's what we're called to be.
It is. That's what faith literally is. Things not seen. I mean, that's... So I guess the question is, do we believe it's possible to live in 2022 by faith?
I think a lot of
Wrap
people...
up the episode before we ruin this.
I think everybody thinks that they say yes.
Ruin it then.
I think
we all
everybody
do.
thinks that,
We do.
yeah.
I mean, what good Christian
not
would you
willing
walk
to
up
take
to
the
and they'd say,
steps.
no? But yet, we've yet to see it, in our, I feel like in our generation.
Yep.
But yet, I believe that.
Yep.
I want that.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
Yeah, we would all be happier if we would just do that. Today's featured content is The Truth by The Belonging Co. I think it's Belonging Co, CJ.
Or it could be company. That's what I was thinking.
It's just Co on there and all their stuff.
Okay. All right.
So I mean, it's probably company, but
Never heard of him.
no. It's a group, and there's other names to it, but I figured if I chose one of the names, CJ would say it's not them.
Sounds about right.
So yeah. Good job.
That was something.
Everybody did a good job.
Thank you. So did you. I'm so wowed.
Oh, thank you.
The
Thank
wows
you.
of Jamie.
The wows. All right. Well, thank you. Now they know. Oh, no. Thank you for joining this thing. And it's the goose, though. Yeah, what's his name? Donkey or something like that? No, the donkey named Goose.
No, it's a horse.
It was a horse named Goose.
Horse
Donkey.
named Goose.
Oh.
Donkey? Where'd that come from?
It's his middle name. Donkey's his middle name. Horse Donkey Goose. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll come back next week. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.